And it was really just headaches, like
Mm,
intense pressure, like it felt like my brain was exploding inside my scalp, that type of pain.
jeez.
South Africa has two types of hospitals. We've got public, government run, and then we've got private. Public hospitals are terrible. I'll say that. They wanted me, I had to go to the hospital to do an MRI, and they told me that their systems aren't working and I must come back in a month. So I was like, if I have a brain bleed, I'm going to be dead in a month.
Welcome back to Brain, sponsored by Toro and Tides. This podcast was built in a rehab facility in moments that felt uncertain, confusing, and honestly pretty isolated. I had one simple goal when it started: to make sure no one navigating a brain injury felt alone. And now it's reaching across the world. Our first international guest was from New Zealand, and today we're going even further. You're listening to Handle with Care, my segment where I talk with other brain injury survivors. And today's guest found this podcast all the way in South Africa. Y'all, in South Africa. That's wild. And that right there is a reminder of why I do this, because these stories don't just stay in one place. They travel, they connect, and most importantly, they matter. I'm joined by Daniella Johannisen, a brain injury survivor, storyteller, and someone who is redefining what it means to rebuild. 3 years ago, just 2 weeks after getting married, Daniella fell while working as a professional camera operator, fracturing her skull and sustaining a traumatic brain injury. Since then, her journey has been a progress of relearning, adapting, and figuring out what this new reality looks like. But through it all, she's kept going. She's still in the film and television world today, now working as a video editor, still telling stories, just from a different lens. And in her own way, Daniella decided to take her life back and is training for an Ironman, a goal that would push her mentally, physically, and emotionally. But like many of us know, the journey doesn't always go as planned. Now, this episode is about resilience, about identity, and about what it really looks like to keep going. And most importantly, it's about hope. Because no matter where you are in the world, you're not alone in this. So let's get right into it. Daniella, how you doing?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. We were talking a little bit earlier before we started recording. The fact that you found this podcast blows my mind. You're on a completely
It's
different
crazy.
continent. Like, what the heck is going on? Now, you found this on social media?
Yes, on Instagram, actually.
Amazing. The beauty of social media. Now, this is what I love. You had the courage and the want to reach out, which I love when our listeners do this. What was that pull for you? Why did you send us an email?
I found a reel from you in a time where I was dealing with a really bad flare up. So I thought if somebody else's story could have been that one spark of motivation for me, possibly my story could be that same thing for someone else. And I think a lot of people that have survived traumatic events feel that way. You never know who's listening.
That is so important, and exactly the reason why I've been doing this. I mean, I found inspiration and hope in so many of the guests on this show, and I know so many of our listeners will do the same after they hear your story. So let's dive into it. Give us a little backstory. I know I said it in the intro. So you're in the film industry, and that subsequently led to your brain injury, but tell us what you were doing before the accident.
So I was actually training to be a producer for live television, which is looking at 15 cameras at a time, pressing buttons, listening to the production live in one ear and talking to the camera operators in another ear. So understandably, I can't do that anymore. But I was camera operating and training. I was traveling the country actually at the time, and then the accident happened.
I mean, already what you described, that is impossible for me with my symptoms. I mean, even for the
Same.
typical person, that's a challenge within itself. And now you're
Yeah.
throwing, I mean, you're like that's equivalent of like juggling knives on a ball. I mean, you got so many things you're
Yes.
trying to balance at once. Now, your injury, your accident happened at work, correct?
Yes, it did.
Take us through that day if you're comfortable sharing.
Yes, so it was in an auditorium, about 8,000 seats, people. It wasn't full at the time though, and I was on a camera box, which is about, I think it was just over a meter off the ground, and I fell backwards onto my head, and I fractured my skull.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
it was hard. Yeah,
Oh, and this is live. This
it
was
was live.
mid-production.
Yes, the camera went straight to the ceiling.
I
I
mean,
actually watched it back. It was very funny. Yeah,
I'm glad you have a good sense of humor about it now. I'm
yeah,
sure in the moment that must have been terrifying. Now, for our audience
yeah.
in the United States, a meter is about 3 feet. So you're pretty high up on a box.
I
you fall
was, yeah.
backwards, you say, and you hit the back of your head.
The side over here.
Wow. Okay. So you're pointing for our listeners again, you're pointing to the right side of your head. What?
Yes, just above my eye, my forehead, actually.
Oh, do you remember impact? Do you remember anything after that?
Yes, I do. I didn't remember this part. My husband was the first person by me, and the first words that came out my mouth were, I think I just fractured my skull. And I didn't remember this. But then when I did the CT scan, he actually reminded me of that. Like you said, you fractured your skull. And I was like, I must have then heard or felt
Mm.
the actual crack. I have flashbacks still 3 years later, just of
Oh,
that fall. Yeah,
oh my gosh. And it's crazy, that's something that I try to stress with listeners is you get a brain injury doing anything. I've talked to
yeah,
survivors who fell while showering. You fell off a 1 meter box. I mean, you were at work of all places and during a live event. Now, when you got that MRI, they showed the fracture.
yeah.
What did they say about your brain? Was there bleeding? Was there bruising?
So this part gets very complicated because it was a work injury. There was paperwork and legalities that had to be done. South Africa has two types of hospitals. We've got public, government run, and then we've got private. Public hospitals are terrible. I'll say that. They wanted me, I had to go to the hospital to do an MRI, and they told me that their systems aren't working and I must come back in a month. So I was like, if I have a brain bleed, I'm going to be dead in a month. Thankfully, though, I was still on my dad's medical aid, which is like medical insurance, and I could go to a private hospital. The work didn't pay for that, but that's another story. And they checked the MRI. Thankfully, no bleeding on the brain, which I don't know how that happened.
Mhm.
And yeah, then we took it from there.
Wow. First off, I'm so glad you pushed to get the proper treatment that you needed. I mean, so many people, advocacy is huge, and it's great to know you had self-advocacy, right? Which is so important because a lot of the times doctors will brush it off. I mean, like you said, you were conscious when the accident happened. You said, "Hey, I think I cracked my skull." Now, granted, you didn't remember that, but you're communicating, you're walking. Doctors see you, they're like, she's fine. Um, that blows my mind that they said come back in a month. I'm glad you're still on your dad's insurance plan. What is
Yeah.
it after that initial fall? Did you notice any symptoms arise immediately? Were you dizzy? Were you unable to speak? What did that look like?
I was definitely very dizzy and just daisy, almost like I was in a daze. I don't know how to explain that, but like my eyes felt like they weren't really moving when I would try and focus on things. And I walked out of the venue perfectly fine. Obviously, I wasn't. And I actually walked around for 2 days with a fractured skull, not even knowing that it was fractured. Yeah, I didn't go to the hospital immediately. I don't know why.
Daniella, what are you
Yeah.
doing? Oh
I
my
even went to
gosh.
visit my grandmother in a different town, and I'm like, I actually don't feel that good. Maybe I should go see someone.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
very irresponsible. I would not recommend that.
But you know what? I'll stand up for you. I'll defend you on that. A lot of times, somebody bonks their head and without proper, education on brain
Yeah,
injuries or head injuries, you think nothing of it. You brush it off. And what concerned me when you said that, it took 2 days for you to go to the hospital. When somebody suffers a concussion, you're supposed to monitor them while they're sleeping. Like every hour, check in on them. And you
yeah,
went 2 nights without any of that. I mean, we're lucky that you're here on the show with us right now. It could have been lethal, like a deadly injury.
yeah. It could have
Wow.
been, yeah. I'd
When
I can't wrap my head around it to this day.
That's wild. What made you go to the hospital on day two?
So because I mentioned it was a work injury and it was an off day, so it was 2 off days, and I was required to go in and do paperwork, and the people doing the paperwork weren't there that day, so I kind of just pushed it out further. But so it happened on the Sunday, and then the Tuesday I was like, I think I need to go see somebody. So we got the paperwork done, and then we went, and it was really just headaches, like
Mm,
intense pressure, like it felt like my brain was exploding inside my scalp. That type of pain.
jeez. Oh my gosh. I mean, were you able to function those 2 days? Was it, I mean, with pain that bad, it sounds like you'd be bedbound or I mean, just needing ice packs on your head.
Yeah, I was. It was very painful, very traumatic as well. Not knowing really what was happening. That
Hmm.
was the scariest part too.
Now, did it keep circling back to the fall? That might be a silly question, but was your husband at that point saying like almost pushing you, or was it you that finally said, you know what, I gotta do this?
I think it was a bit of both. I
Hmm.
also had a shoulder injury. So I also was like, I might have fractured my shoulder as well. But luckily I didn't. It was just very badly bruised. So it was like there are two things that are not right with me and we need to figure this out now.
Mm.
Yeah, so we kind of both pushed each other.
Good. Well, I'm glad you had him to help you through this and still, have this support system. So when you get the MRI, you're told you have a skull fracture, and they're like, hey, 2 days late, but we're glad you're here. Um, what were the next steps? Did they recommend any rehabilitation, any cognitive care? What do those following days look like?
This is the part where I feel like the South African medical system really let me down because
Mm,
they didn't do anything. It was just pain medication, uh, rest, maybe come back in a week and we'll check how you're doing. And that was it. And that's been it for the last 3 years. I've had to go do my own research about what's actually happening to my body. Why am I still struggling 3 years later? I do believe if I had the right support early on, there would be many things now that I'm not struggling with, but unfortunately, that didn't happen.
mm, I hate that. I hate that for you. That's got to be so frustrating and just I mean, sad to cope with. Do you let's dive into that. Let's dive into the things that you are struggling with today as a result of that head injury.
Yeah, it's it's a long list of things. Obviously, we've got the migraines, especially with weather changes now. If there's a storm, I'm out. Like I can sense the storm coming before it actually gets here. Also, light sound sensitivity, brain fog, forgetting things, uh, fibromyalgia I
Mm.
developed as well. I'm not sure if you know what that is.
I do. I had to research it before you came on the show, but why don't you share with the audience what that is?
Yeah, so I think about 6 months after the fall, I just started feeling so much pain in my body all the
Mm.
time. I went through the test, and the doctor said I had fibromyalgia. And what it is, it's just how the brain processes pain. So I would feel pain that doesn't exist. Like it's not in my bones, it's not in my muscles, it's not arthritis. There's nothing you can do. It's just the nerves that are sending signals
Mm.
to the brain, and the brain thinks it's pain. So I feel pain that doesn't exist. And I
Jeez.
think that developed of the brain injury as well. There's no cure to it, but lifestyle things do help, like exercise.
Wow, that oh my gosh. That's you talk about the pain, you talk about the brain fog, the migraines. I we really overlap on a lot of symptoms. Now, granted, I don't have fibromyalgia, but I have nonstop headaches, and on bad days they spike up to migraines. The light and sound sensitivity, you say you experience that as well, right?
Yeah.
Which is crazy because you're still working in that field.
Yeah. I have earplugs. I wear them without shame.
Yeah, as you should. Struggle with light and sound sensitivity as well, and the earplugs are essential if I go to concerts or to sporting events. And with light sensitivity, I often wear sunglasses. Is that something you ever do while you're at work or when you're in overstimulating environments?
Yeah, so I have actually my blue light glasses that I have when I'm editing. And then at work, I've just got the earplugs. I actually have never tried the sunglasses. I should try that. Sometimes I wear a hat just to limit stimulation from around me. That helps a lot.
I'm always rocking a hat. Yeah,
Yeah,
people seldomly see my hair. I do have hair. I just want to make that very clear, but I always wear a hat. Wow. Okay,
it
let's
helps a
let's
lot.
dive
It
in.
does.
Let's dive into the brain fog. A lot of people don't really understand unless they're living with a brain injury. I experienced that
Yeah.
as well. Describe that as best as you can for our listeners.
Oh, it's almost like a fog, a
Hmm.
fog in your head, like you're trying to figure out or find a word, and you know what the word is, but it's almost like it never reaches your mouth. You can think what you're trying to say, but it doesn't come out in the way you think it should come out. It's just like it's somewhere along the line.
Hmm.
That's how I experience it.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to describe it. And I know it can differ for other people as well. With me, for my brain fog, it's that word finding, like you just mentioned, where it's just, you know what you want to say, and it's on the tip of your tongue, but you can't get it. And then it's also
Yeah,
problem solving. That goes out the window for me. Doing
yeah.
simple tasks, it just seems impossible. And how I combat the brain fog is I go lie down. I mean, I'm out for the rest of the day. I have to take a nap or rest. And for you, I feel like that's got to be even more frustrating because you have a job that's very demanding. And if you have a bad brain fog day, what do you do?
It's so hard. Thankfully, I freelance at the moment, so I can, on the good days, I do as much as I can without overdoing it. And then on the bad days, I can draw back a little bit. But if I have a deadline, I have a deadline. So
Mhm.
I just have to hope for the best.
Wow. I mean, talk about perseverance and just I don't know how you do it. I love that. That's you got some tenacity and grit and that's why, I don't know if you knew much about what I was doing and I shared sometimes on the podcast, but I used to be a news anchor and reporter for ABC and that which
Oh,
is a news affiliate here in the United States and then also a sales rep for a Fortune 500 company. Both jobs extremely demanding, high
yeah.
pressure, deadline focus, which you deal with that as well as a freelancer. And to work in some capacity as that would be impossible for me. That's why I started this business. That's why I have this podcast because it's on my own time. I don't have a
Mm,
boss yelling at me or if I miss a post, my listeners usually understand. But
Yeah.
man, I applaud you for powering through. That's incredible. You mentioned early on, this is 3 years post fall, right? So the medical system kind of said, "Hey, we'll check in with you in about a month." And you've taken upon yourself to do your own research, which is
Yeah.
fantastic. And it sounds like you didn't receive any rehabilitation. For me, it was, speech therapy, because my short-term memory is really bad. It's physical therapy, occupational therapy. You didn't have any of that, and now you're doing this care and this treatment on your own through your own research.
Yeah. I mean, it's the only way right now. But I'm hoping that it could, my blah, blah, blah. My dream would be for my situation to help other people in South Africa specifically find that help without needing to go down a million rabbit holes, just to
Hmm.
help them. There's a lot
I
of people suffering.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can't even imagine. And for you, what would that look like? Obviously, you're sharing your story, which is fantastic because it starts that conversation. What would getting to that point be in your eyes?
I think it just would be education
Hmm.
on what brain injury is and how common it actually is. Many people have one and never do anything. In South Africa, we have something called rugby. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's almost like American football, but it's very intense, and lots of people have concussions in rugby.
Hmm.
So I think that people have this idea that concussions and brain injuries are limited to rugby players, but
Hmm.
it's not. You can literally just be in a car accident and just go like this, and your brain can get hurt. People don't know that. And that's
Which
what
is
I'm really trying to change.
That's wild, right? It's the unknown. And I had that too. I had that mindset. I covered stories for people with brain injuries, but a majority of
Wow.
those stories were people in the military. And for me, kind of like the perception in South Africa, it's well, it can only be rugby players. For me, it can only be people in the military, which is wild. I mean,
Yeah.
you're a testament to that. I'm a testament to that. And it's life changing. And the education and the awareness is key. And I'm so proud of you for taking this leap and sharing your story because I mean, this will be heard on YouTube, on Spotify, and we'll have listeners in your country hopefully start to take note and maybe
Yeah.
raise a flag and say, wait, that happened to my brother, or that's what my sister's going through, which is so cool. When you sustained this head injury, life changed
Oh,
and a
yeah.
new version of yourself was born. Walk me through that process where other tasks that were, so easy and effortless for you were no longer easy and effortless. Did you see a big shift, or what were the biggest changes for you pre-fall, post-fall?
It definitely would be in my job. It was my dream to become a producer, and I was a junior producer at that time. I was doing live shows and it just got ripped away from me. But when it comes to my personal life, it was just the isolation. Friends would go out to restaurants. That for me is like a terrible place because it's noise and it's holding a conversation with clinking of plates. I mean, you would know. It's just that things I can't do anymore. Like going to the shop. I don't know if I can go to the store and buy something without being freaked out like halfway through. It's also just the unreliability. I could wake up one day and feel paralyzed, and the next day I could do so many things. It's just never knowing what I'm going to get. I think that's really isolating for people,
Mm-hmm.
especially having to pretend that you're fine towards people that don't understand. That's also isolating.
That was, I still deal with a lot today with my head injury or with my brain injury. It's that chronic pain, the short-term memory loss, the fatigue, and it is going to those grocery stores or those
Yeah.
shopping centers, and it's overstimulating. The lights, the sounds. the people moving in front of you are all triggers that make the pain even worse. And the going out with friends, I had to stop doing that. And you said the word a couple times, isolation. Aside from the pain, aside from the memory loss, the isolation is the worst part of this injury
It
because you have
is, yeah.
people that don't understand. You have people that don't take time to understand. They get frustrated with you and they don't, they don't get why you can't go out with them. They just think you're a flake. And, this shirt that I'm wearing, I'll have to send you one because it's an iceberg and you know, Danny, you look perfectly fine, surface level.
I
So
do.
do I.
I even smile just to make people feel more comfortable about my situation. I don't know why I do that.
Same. I'm the same way. And on the back of the shirt, it shows the bottom of the iceberg. So like on the surface, you don't see everything. Surface level. There's
Yeah.
so much beneath the surface. And that's the most frustrating thing. And I think that's a big catalyst for that isolation is now I'm at home a lot. Now I'm not being as active as I used to be. And it sucks because then you're stuck with your thoughts.
Yeah. And it's a very scary place to be, especially when you start thinking back of what life was like and what life could be like if things didn't happen like it did. I think it's not just the isolation of the injury, but living in a world where people don't actually want to understand and living with medical systems that don't actually want to help or believe you sometimes. Some people don't feel believed. Like I'm still struggling. It's obvious. You can't see it, but I'm struggling. People don't get that.
Wow. I feel for you, and the United States has made progress with
Yeah.
advocating for people with brain injuries, which with supporting financially stuff like that. But from what I'm hearing from you in your country, that's non-existent.
It's not. Yeah, it doesn't exist. Not as far as I'm aware, and I've done a lot of research.
Have you, through your research, have you been able to make connections with other brain injury survivors in your area?
No, not at all. There are no communities currently. I have joined a virtual one, but it's based in America.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's better than nothing. And maybe this will be a chance for me to start my own one just to help people because I think a lot of people need that help. Or they just need to know that it's okay. You're not alone and
Mm-hmm.
you're not imagining things. You really are. Your brain is hurt. You can't see it. You can't see the bruises and the cuts because they aren't there, but your brain is hurt. And that's the reality.
Oh man, that's so true. And in a society where I am, there is that support, but I still feel crazy sometimes when doctors
Yeah.
make it seem like it is in your head. And it's like, yeah, doc, it is. It's my brain and it's freaking on fire, but they almost make you feel like you're making it up or you're lazy for not wanting to work. It's like, no, you don't understand. I want to so badly, but it's not
Yeah.
possible. And I hate that you know, where you live, it's almost taboo to talk about it, right?
Oh,
To spread
yeah.
awareness. And have you noticed friends that were in your life pre-accident that have taken an exit because they're uncomfortable, or how has that gone?
Oh, yes. I've held on to lots of good friends that have stuck by me, but there have been those ones that they'll stick with you in the early stages, but when it comes like maybe 6 months have passed and then a year passes, then they slowly just fade away, and it hurts, of course, because you think they're with you, but I'm not going to try and force somebody to understand my situation if they don't want to be in my life. And the people that are in my life right now, they want to be there. So I'm going to focus on them instead of on the people that I've left.
Hmm. Friendships, relationships are two ways, two-way streets. It
Yeah.
it should not be
And
forced.
family too.
Oh, Danny,
Yeah.
don't get me started on that. You're preaching to the choir. I've lost family. I've lost friends. That's what sucks. I mean,
Yeah.
have you lost family members as well who are no longer in contact with you?
I have not as much as friends, but I'm still in contact with them out of obligation because of family functions. But it's more just like understanding that if I can't attend a family function, this is why. That's kind of the place where I've lost people, that willingness to understand what I'm actually facing at that moment.
Mm. I'm so sorry. How
It's
has your
okay.
husband been along the way?
Oh, amazing, amazing. From day one, he's helped me. He's researched when there was a diagnosis. He's just helped me so much. I don't think I would be alive if it wasn't for him.
I love that. I love that so much. I'm so happy you have him. And his support.
Yeah.
Support is crucial because it's a reminder there, with my mom and my brother and my girlfriend, they're reminders of how far you've come, right? Because they've seen you at ground zero. And
Oh,
oftentimes,
yes.
especially for me, I forget that. I don't remember what life was like 6 years ago when I was in the hospital. I get hard on myself for not being the version I was before. Um, when you take it day by day, what's your mindset? How do you keep that smile on your face, even though it might be tough to show sometimes?
What's helped me. Like tomorrow, if I have a flare up, yes, it sucks. We validate that. But I'm not the same person.
Mm.
I've grown. And it's the same for you. Maybe you're in a situation, or anyone listening, it looks the same as it did before, but you're not the same. And that's how we're supposed to live. We're supposed to grow and become better.
Mm-hmm. And you said the word I was about to say, growth. That's growth. And it
Yeah.
takes, a strong individual living with a brain injury to recognize that growth because oftentimes it feels like we're stuck, we're complacent,
Oh,
but
yeah.
just getting out of bed is a win that day.
Yeah. Or taking a shower.
Hmm.
For me, at least. Some
Yes.
days, shower is exhausting.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Now, this is a good segue, Daniela, because we talk about those small wins, getting out of bed, taking a shower where that can, be exhausting as well. You, my friend, are going above and beyond, and you're training for an Ironman.
Yes, I am.
How? Why? What? That's insane.
It is insane. I've actually, my story was I trained for a year and 4 months. I was supposed to race November last year, and then I had a symptom flare up a week before the race. I
Oh,
couldn't race. Doctor said, no ways you're going to race. I was devastated. But they moved my race completely free of charge. And like, kudos to Ironman for this. I hope they see this because that was really amazing that they did that. And now I'm doing it November of this year. Yeah.
wow. For our listeners who might not be familiar with the Ironman, let's walk into that, what the training looks like and ultimately what the event is.
So it's triathlon, which is swimming in the order, swimming, then cycling, and then running. Very long distance, very far. Yeah.
What it's
Straight
so
after each other.
you're I've I know people that have done this and it blows my mind and to know that you with a brain injury with fibromyalgia, you're doing it, you're pushing your body to those limits. What is this, for the typical human, just completing an Ironman in itself is a massive win. You're doing it with all these setbacks. Now, is this a way for you to prove to yourself that you can do anything? Is it a way to show doctors and people that didn't believe you that, hey, like I am strong. I know like I'm capable of living with this brain injury. How did you find the passion to do this?
I think the if I could sum it up in one sentence, it would be your circumstances do not dictate your future. And that's kind of what I was thinking about when I entered that. Yes, right now life sucks. Sometimes
Mhm.
it really does, but it doesn't have to define who I choose to become. I can still choose to become somebody that can do endurance because I've endured a lot for brain injury, and so have you and many others. This is just a different type of endurance. It's physical endurance. And I think that connection is much closer than we think it is. That endurance of just pushing through.
Wow, beautifully said. And I want our audience to hear this because the Ironman distance is I'm going to do kilometers and miles. So all of our listeners can better understand. So, like you said, the event consists of swimming, biking, and running in that order. The swim is 2.4 miles or 3.8 kilometers. The bike ride is 112 miles or 180 kilometers. And the run is 26.2 miles, a marathon, or 42.2 kilometers. Y'all, Danny, I hate to say this. You're crazy. You are
I am
crazy.
very crazy.
Oh my
I'm
Lord.
so crazy.
Holy cow. And
Yeah.
this is in November.
22nd, yeah.
Okay. What now this is important because you mentioned the struggle of taking a shower some days, but other days, the good days, you're running what, 10, 12 miles? You're cycling. I mean, what does the training look like for this?
Yeah, it's broken up into blocks, so like 3-month blocks at a time, and then it gets more intense. The hardest ones are called brick sessions, and that's where you cycle and then run immediately after.
Mm.
And that's just different because your legs, that's what's called a brick, because your legs feel like bricks trying to run. I think that's the hardest thing. And also the swim is in the ocean, which is
Oh,
quite
currents.
terrifying.
Yeah,
Yeah, the currents and the waves,
the
and it's
sharks.
yeah, the sharks. That's scary.
My gosh, you truly, when you messaged Toro and Tides, you said you're taking your life back.
Yeah.
What a powerful statement. Share that insight with our listeners, the ones that haven't gotten to that point yet in the recovery, that need that inspiration. What does it mean to take your life back, and what got you to take that life back?
I think it's a lot more complicated than just deciding to wake up one day and, oh, I'm taking my life back. It started for me to open my curtains in the morning.
Hmm.
That was me taking my life back. Sometimes it's packing the laundry away, or doing a load of washing, taking my life back. And it develops to a point where you can do more and more and more. And some days I have to go back down to square one and take a cup to the kitchen
Hmm.
from my bedside table, which is filled with cups, by the way. So it's taking your life back. It's personal. It's not complicated, and it doesn't have to look dramatic. It's just one little choice that you can make every day and just build it up over time. Yeah, that's what it is.
That's beautiful, and I'm really happy our audience gets to hear that, especially from somebody who's faced so much adversity, so much pain, and somebody that's truly been left from the healthcare system because there's that lack of support. You mentioned those tasks, right? Like taking that cup off your bedside table down to the kitchen. I'm guilty is that in that as well. I have water bottles all over the place in my room.
Oh yeah.
But this is a good segue because I want you to tell our audience what you're still working on that people might assume you've already overcome because they're going to be, those friends that left or those family members that technically don't understand. They're going to say, well, Danny's training for an Ironman. She's back to herself. Let's pull the curtain back for those listeners for them to get a better understanding at where you're at today.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds great to do endurance sports, but some days I still struggle to have a conversation. Today's a good day, thankfully. Other days I can't have a conversation because my mind just, I cannot stay focused for that long. Some days I can't even go to the shop.
Mm.
It freaks me out. As some days I can't even put, you call it gas, we call it petrol, into the car, because just talking to the someone else does it for us here. Just talking to him and telling him how much to put in just overwhelms me so
Mm.
much. Just like remembering a shopping list. That sounds
Oh.
so simple. Just,
Mm-hmm.
and also remembering where things are in the store, and then when there's music playing in the store and there's lights in the store and there's people in the store, I just want to go into the car and hide. Some days I can't even drive home. I have to stop the car and I just have to breathe because my vision goes blurry. But then everything passes and we just move on. So yeah, it's
Wow.
still tough.
It's that's so relatable, and it's heartbreaking. I deal with a lot of those
Yeah,
symptoms as well, and it's nice to know somebody that um, lives with that as well. As sad as that is to say, I hate you. I wish you didn't, but it's
yeah,
comforting to
same.
know I have somebody else in this with me.
Yeah.
I think a good thing for our other brain injury survivors to hear, if you wouldn't mind sharing, is in those moments where you have to pull over in the car, or when you're in that grocery store or shopping center and you're forgetting where stuff is, or you get overwhelmed and you want to go back into the car, how do you how do you pull it all together to complete the task? Or if you can't complete the task, what do you do to get through those difficult moments?
Some days when I have the strength, I can tell myself it's going to pass. This will pass. It's just a moment. It's just a weak moment. It doesn't define me. It doesn't dictate who I'm still becoming, because one little setback doesn't define how far you've come. And that helps me when I have to hide away from the world for a week because I'm having a flare up. I can tell myself my worth isn't based in how much I can do or how
Mm,
okay I seem to the world. I can hide and I can rebuild my energy in peace, because it's not about productivity. It's just about breathing. If you've got breath in your lungs, you have a purpose, and that's all that matters. So if you are having a bad day, just keep breathing.
mm.
That's all. Just that's It's as simple as that. Sometimes I put my hand on my chest just to or feel my heartbeat, and then I know I am. It might seem like the most basic human function, but right now this is the best I can do. My heart's beating, and that's good enough.
Wow. Wow. Uh, your outlook on life is so powerful, so inspiring. And it's those little things, like you said, hey, I am still here. There is air in my lungs, and my heart is beating, and tomorrow might be a better day. I hope is a better day. And when that day comes, we'll face it with whatever it brings. And that's so refreshing to hear from you, because I just want your community to understand, and I want those also suffering to know they have an outlet with you, because it is building that community, which is so important. And girlfriend, you're a part of the Toro and Tides community. I'll tell you that much. I have your number. I'm gonna be keeping up with you. I'm gonna be rooting you on through that Ironman race. You are a motivation to me, and I know to all of our listeners. I cannot thank you enough, Danny, to come on the show, to be vulnerable enough to share your story. Is there anything that I may have missed? Is there any message you want to share with our listeners, for hope, for inspiration? I want you to close this out for us.
Well, I don't think there's anything more for me, but I just want to thank you as well. What you've been through. I read a little bit about your story, and it's very traumatic what happened. But the fact that you could kind of walk through that, because I know you're still struggling, we're always walking through it, but that you can come this far and choose to do something good for other people, that's helping more people than you might realize. I can tell you that now. There are a lot of people that are watching that might never say anything to you, but they're being touched and they're being impacted. So thank you for what you have done and creating a place for people like us that don't really have anywhere else to go. Yeah, I just want to say thank you.
Wow, Danny, thank you for sharing those kind words. That Man, that honestly, I'm touched, I'm moved, and that's exactly why I started this, for other survivors to be heard. And thank you for reaching out, and thanks for persevering, and being just an incredible woman. And you got a whole community now behind you that's going to be cheering you on for that Ironman in November. That's wow, that's the show and a wrap. Our first South African freaking audience, or not audience member, guest, which is wild. This podcast is growing. Our brain to brain handle with care segment is reaching the world. And
It
Danny,
is.
thank you again so much. we'll have you back on the show at some point, hopefully after that Ironman, to get an update from you. But that concludes this episode. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you later.